Good afternoon. Today the topic is polymers. We all know about polymers. What are polymers? Polymers consist of two words, poly and mer. What is the meaning of poly? Poly means many and mer means unit. So anything which combines many units or multiple units is known as polymer. Any daily life example you have of polymer? Right? And any naturally occurring polymer? It's in your body. Proteins are examples of. Proteins are the polymers made up of amino acids. They are made up of amino acids, right? What other examples of naturally occurring polymers? Starch, starch, cellulose, lactose is not a polymer. Lactose is a cyclic form of a sugar, but it is not a polymer. Polymer is something which consists of repeated units, right? What other example you can quote for naturally occurring polymer? Cellulose, protein, and wool. Wool consists of, but again wool is we will include wool in the cellulose form, right? What are the artificially or synthetic polymers? Any example? Okay. PVC. Okay, the name itself suggests it is a polymer because it is polyvinyl chloride. And we know we have just wrote down polythene and nylon. Nylon 6 or nylon 6. What is the difference between nylon 6 and nylon 6? No idea. We will be considering the various classes on which we classify the polymers, right? So basically these are the examples for synthetic polymers. Also the paints, varnishes, they all contain polymers only, right? So let's take the classification of polymers first. See, the first classification is based on the source, as in from which they have been extracted. Suppose I am talking about the source, that suppose I am saying that it is a natural polymer, then I will write down that it is cellulose or protein or starch, right? What if I say that the source is semi-synthetic? Synthetic as in completely artificial, made in the lab. But semi-synthetic means it is actually a natural polymer, but in which we have made some changes or we have made some derivative of the natural polymers. So the example of semi-synthetic polymer is cellulose acetate or cellulose nitrate. These various kinds of polymers are used for different purposes. What is the third class? That would be completely synthetic. So synthetic polymers will include plastic, right? Plastic, or we can write polythene, because plastic is a very broader term. Because plastic include all the PVC, polythene or bakelite, everything. The switches are made up of bakelite, right? You know about the oven, microwave safe crockery, which is made of melamine. It is also a polymer, or you can say it is a plastic, but you cannot classify it on the basis whether it is just a, you simply say it is a plastic, but on the basis of kind of linkages and how it has been formed and how, what is the source of the polymer, you can classify further these things as into different classes. But in general, wholesome, you will say it as a plastic. So plastic, polythene or and PVC or bakelite, right? So this is the classification based on the source of polymer. Understood? What may be the second class of classification? Structure, right? Based on the structure. The simplest of all is anything which plays along along the path, it is called a linear polymer. Suppose I have chains of polymers like this. They are linear in shape, right? Second is branch chain polymer. So what is the difference between linear and branch chain polymer? The only difference is that they'll also have a linear polymer like this, but they'll have a small branches. Okay, out of linear and branch chain, which will have high density? No? See, density is equal to mass over volume. In case of linear, since there is no branching, volume would be less because they will be closely packed, right? They are closely packed, and hence the volume would be less and mass will remain the same, and hence the density would be higher. Density is higher. And in case of branch chain, the density would be lower, right? The third class is cross-linked or network polymer. So what is the new thing about cross-linked polymers? They would have these kind of chain just like the linear polymer, but apart from that they'll have these linear chain joined together through multiple chains. In case of branch chain, there were only small branching arising out of the linear chains, but they were not linking to each other. But in case of cross linking, a lot of branches are joining together to form a cross-linked polymer or a network or a complete network kind of polymer. Network is something which is very extended and vast, right? So in this case, the density would be least, right? So depending on the kind of density, how tightly the polymer is packed, how is the packing of the polymer, it will tell you what is the tensile strength of that polymer. Can I use polythene for making plastic switches? Why? So why they tend to melt at high temperature? They don't have because see, the tensile strength is related to the kind of bonding between the polymers. So when I am saying that I cannot use polythene, it's because the kind of bonding in between the chains is not suitable enough to withstand the high temperature, which may occur during the during the passage of electricity, and hence I cannot use polythene. So tensile strength, the modulus, all these properties count for the properties of the polymer. So depending on the kind of usage I have to classify whether I can use this kind of plastic or this kind of plastic. So in general, you call polymers as plastic in general, but they are not always plastic. For example, paints and varnishes, right? What may be the third classification? What is the basis of the third classification? On the mode of polymerization. For example, we have addition, polymerization, and the other is condensation polymerization. What is the difference between addition and condensation polymerization? Polymerization means you are adding units. You are simply adding the unit. While in case of condensation polymerization, you are saying that when two units combine together, they condense. Condense is something which lets you take out some other molecules. Suppose I am saying, suppose NaOH and HCl combine to form H2O and NaCl. I'll say that one molecule of water has been condensed out. So basically condensation polymers or condensation polymerization are those in which small molecule of either water or alcohol or acid are released as a byproduct, right? So these are called condensation polymerization, right? For example, addition. What is the example for addition polymerization? When you're talking about, right, ethene is CH2, and what is polythene? CH2. How do we represent? This is the monomer. The basic unit for polymer is monomer, having a single unit, right? When lot of molecules combine to form a polymer, they are also called macromolecules, right? How do we represent a polymer? You will simply draw the structure, you will simply draw the basic structure of the monomer, and you will extend these bonds like this out of the bracket. That shows that these chains are continuing to exist in the network, and hence they are existing as polymer. So I'll write down that n units. I don't know the number of units which have combined to form a polythene, this size of polythene. Suppose I have this size of bag, and I don't know how much units of ethene has combined to form this bag. So I'll simply write there are n number of molecules, n number of ethene molecules that have combined or that have been added together to form this size of polythene. So I would write polythene as CH2, then CH2. Because in this kind of polymerization, two molecules, in fact not two molecules, molecules simply add. And the property of addition polymerization is that they only add the unsaturated compounds. I'll not say that ethane will combine to form polymer. What I'm saying is that ethene is combining to form polythene, right? Because it is a unsaturated compound. Why we are saying that the polymerization of addition polymerization will occur only for the unsaturated compounds? What could be the reason why I am saying that it cannot occur with ethane but with ethene? Why? What could be the reason? Because to polymerize it has to form a new bond, and what we are saying that it is simply a addition polymerization. So if I take the alkane or a saturated compound, it has to release some hydrogen out of it, and hence it will not remain as addition polymerization, but it will become a condensation polymerization. So this is the way how the unsaturated compounds combine together in presence of a catalyst. It's not just that I'll take ethene and it will start forming a polythene. I have to add some catalyst to it so that a reaction could occur or it could initiate, right? What could be the catalyst for this kind of reaction? What could be the catalyst? Sorry? You simply use a high temperature, not just heat, say high temperature and high pressure, right? So that ethene could simply form polythene, and you have to remove this double bond when you are showing a polymer, right? Again, there are two types of polymers, homopolymers and copolymers, right? Understood? Homopolymers are those in which only two similar kind of moieties join to form a polymer. So when I am saying that polythene is getting formed, that means it is an example of homopolymers. Homo means same, right? And when I am saying copolymer, that means there are two kinds of monomers that are involved in the formation of polymer. For example, okay, you all are after Buna N and Buna S. Can we take a different example? Okay, let's take Buna S. What are the monomers for Buna S? Okay, let's break this term. Buna S means butadiene, right? So what is butadiene? CH2, CH, CH, CH2, 1, 2, 3, right? 1,3-butadiene, and you take styrene. What is it? You can simply draw something like this, or you can simply write C6H5CHCH2, right? When they combine, they are simply adding, and I am not condensing anything out of this reaction. So what will be the product? It would be CH2, CH, CH, CH2, then CH, CH2, C6H5, and you have to show a bracket with a bar half inside and half outside the bracket, and simply put the n number of units, right? So this is Buna N, right? In this kind of polymerization, although it is an addition polymerization, but in this kind of polymerization we have two kind of monomers. One is 1,3-butadiene, other is styrene, and hence this is called a copolymer, right? This is example of copolymer, right? You have to remove this double bond and it has to be here, right? Any example of condensation polymer? How do you make a terylene polymer? You have been giving us the example of nylon 6, nylon 6,6. So what is the basis of writing nylon 6? It shows the number of carbon atoms. So suppose I am saying I am writing nylon 6,6, that means it will have 6 units of carbon. What is the name of this compound? Hexamethylene diamine, and you are combining it with adipic acid. Adipic acid has again 6 number of carbon atom, and hence I am writing the combine as nylon 6,6. It is CH2, 4, COOH and COOH. See, there are 6 number of carbon atoms, right, including the 2 carboxylic group. This is adipic acid. So when you are combining these two kind of monomers, what you will get is nylon 6,6. What would be the product? What I am asking is the product. You will get a condensation kind of product, and what kind of linkage you will get is, it would be an amide linkage. How? what you have to draw is NH CH2 6, right? NHCO CH2 4 CON plus NH2O. So what is happening is, consider this as COOH, right? So what we are considering is that one atom of this hydrogen and one OH moiety, they combine to form a water molecule, and hence it will form a amide linkage. Just like this, these corner units are free to bind with any other kind of adipic acid or hexamethylene diamine, and hence they will continue to form a polymer, right? So this way what you will get is a nylon 6,6. So how do you say that it is nylon or nylon 6 or nylon 6,6? Nylon are the compounds which have amide linkages, right? Sorry? Nylon is the basic term used for the compounds having amide linkage. That's it. Any other terminology you know? What? New York, London? Is it? It is used for New York, London? Or is it for just for the remember purpose? Anyhow, I don't know if the nylon is used for New York or London. Yes. All right. That's a new thing that I have come to know. Okay, the next classification is based on the kind of intermolecular forces. What are the kind of intermolecular forces? See, there basically what kind of intermolecular forces we have learned so far? Ionic, covalent, or hydrogen bonding and van der Waal. So in case of polymers, we would be talking only about these two kind of forces, because covalent bonds are formed when there is a complete sharing of, and in polymers we do not talk about ionic species since they would be quite unstable, right? So in case of polymers we would be talking about either hydrogen bonding or van der Waal forces of attraction, which are very weak, right? So basis on that, there are again four kind of polymers. First are elastomers. What are elastomers? Okay, I don't want an example. Read the property of elastomers. Elastomers are those which have very weak forces of attraction, and hence which contain van der Waal forces of attraction. Since van der Waal forces of attraction are very weak, these kind of polymers can be stretched easily and they can be compressed easily. But that means they can be bring back to their shape. They can be stretched easily and they can be suppressed. They can be pressed easily, right? So that once they have been stretched, to return back to their original state, some kinds of linkages are introduced in these kinds of polymers, right? Some kind of linkages. Right? What is the basic example? Basic example of elastomer is natural rubber. You know, natural rubber is very soft. It is very soft at high temperature and it is highly brittle at very low temperature, right? So to make this soft rubber a little bit more usable, you know, in case of when we are using our eraser and when we are using tires in the car, they are not natural rubbers. They are, and the eraser you are using, is it a natural rubber? So what kind of rubber it is? It is a vulcanized rubber. So the first class is elastomers having weak van der Waals forces of attraction right. An example is natural rubber right. The second are fibers. What is the property of fibers? They are basically thread forming solids. Example is okay, Bunas. Are you sure Bunas is the example for fibers? Are you sure? No. So basically, let's study first the property, the classification on which the polymers are classified. Once you have learned the various kinds of polymers, Buna and Bunas, then you can classify what kind of polymer it is, right? Whether it is an elastomer or a fiber or anything else, right? So they are thread forming solids. Examples is nylon 66 and terylene, which you also call as polyester. Most of the clothes are using polyester, synthetic fibers, because pure fabric is very fragile and also it is very costly. Synthetic fibers are comparatively cheaper, right? So what kind of bonding they have? Suppose I am saying elastomers are those which have weak intermolecular forces and they can be stretched easily and they can be pressed easily. What are the properties of fibers? They have strong hydrogen bonding between them and hence they have high tensile strength, because whenever the bonding would be strong they will have high tensile strength, right? The third is thermoplastic polymers. They are again linear or branch type polymers. So but when I am saying thermoplastic, thermo means temperature, right? So that means they are the plastic which become soft on heating and become hard on cooling. They become soft on heating and hard on cooling. So they can be molded according to a need, right? So whatever shape I want to give to the thermoplastic polymer, I can easily give by heating it to the required temperature, right? Any example of bakelite? Bakelite is an example of thermosetting polymer. Example of this is polythene, isn't? I can easily mold the shape of polythene according to my need. Polythene or polystyrene or polyvinyl. Right? The fourth class is what is known as thermosetting. The name itself suggests that once this plastic has been set into the shape, it cannot be remolded. Thermosetting plastic or polymer. Better write polymer. Thermosetting polymer. So they are once molded cannot regain back, right? Example of thermosetting polymer is, what is resin? RESIN, resin. What is resin? bakelite, right? And this is your homework. You should find out what is resin. Have you heard about water purifying resins? Resin is a term quite frequently used in inorganic chemistry. Right? So this is your homework. I want the answer why, what are resins? Right? So this was the classification based on the kind of bonding between them. All right? So what we were talking about was addition polymerization. Yes, class? We were talking about addition polymerization. This is also called step, or this is called chain growth polymerization. These days addition polymerization term has been dropped and we use the term chain growth polymerization instead of addition polymerization term, right? So what we were discussing was that formation of polythene is an example of addition polymerization, that n units of ethene combine to form polythene, right? So what could be the mechanism how a polymer is formed? By free radical. See, there are two types of mechanism that may operate. One is free radical mechanism and other is ionic mechanism. But most of the time free radical mechanism is operating in the system. What are free radicals? Are free radicals something which have they are called anions or cations, or what are free radicals? Suppose you have hydrogen molecule, right? Please pay attention. Suppose you have a hydrogen molecule and whenever there occurs a homolytic fission, one of each electron goes to respective hydrogen, and in this case what we get is a free radical of hydrogen. You can simply assume that okay, this is how the atom is produced. But when an atom exists, we know that atom does not exist as such, but it exists in the form of molecule. But when a molecule breaks by this kind of mechanism called homolytic fission, what you get is a free radical. Free radical are high energy particles, because once a bond is formed, the atom has more of energy, right? So they are called free radicals. And whenever there occurs a heterolytic fission, what will happen? Heterolytic means both the electrons will go either to this atom or to other atom, right? So in this case what you will get is a hydride and a proton, because in this case what you will get is an anion and cation in case of heterolytic fission, while in case of homolytic fission you will always get a free radical. So what is the mechanism for addition polymerization? Is by the free radical mechanism. So basically when I want to start a polymerization reaction, I'll simply take a monomer or two monomers and simply add a catalyst to it. Most of the time it is a persulfate or perbenzoate catalyst, right? So what is the basis of using perbenzoate or persulfate catalyst or a peroxide? Basically, you are taking a benzoyl peroxide. Okay, whenever you want to start a reaction, you initiate it, right? So whenever I am saying that I am adding a lot of units, a lot of monomers together, so first I have to start a reaction, then I have to continue adding a more number of monomers to it. So basically when I am talking about free radical mechanism, I have some steps of the reaction. These are called chain. Basically what are these? These are chain reactions, now that I have to keep on adding monomers. This is kind of chain reaction. So first is chain initiation reaction, right? The second may be chain propagation reaction, right? The third is chain termination reaction. That means here I have started the reaction, here I am increasing the vigor of the reaction. I am keep on adding the number of monomers so that it can extend, it can have a wide network of monomers. And then when I want to end the reaction, I have to add some kind of reagent so that a reaction may stop. So this is called chain termination reaction, right? So to start a reaction, usually we took a benzoyl peroxide or a persulfate reagent. So what they do, they basically they undergo homolytic cleavage, and what they will form is C6H5COO, right, and a radical, and you will get 2 units of this kind of radical. In the next step you will say that this CO2 molecule get released and you will get a 2C6H5 radical. This radical combines with the, suppose what I am taking is ethene or any other molecule. So suppose I am taking styrene, right? Plus C6H5 radical. Ethene, what it will form is, it will form C6H5CH2, but the free electron will not go away, it will remain on this moiety. Understood? Now this, earlier there was only this kind of free radical, but now the size of the free radical has increased to by 2 units. Again what will happen? One more molecule of ethene will come and react with this radical to form another radical, C6H5CH2, then CH2, then with this radical, I hope the bonds are right. This keeps on going, and unless a stage is come whenever where you want to terminate this reaction, right? So what will you do? You will, this is called chain initiation. In this case I have started this reaction, initiation, and in this case we are basically propagating the reaction. We are increasing the size of the polymer, and when I want to terminate this reaction, what will happen? So how do I do it? Suppose if I combine one hydrogen radical with another hydrogen radical, what I'll get is a hydrogen molecule. Similarly, when I combine C6H5CH, CH2, CH2, CH2 radical with C6H5, CH, CH2, CH2, CH2 radical, what will happen? They both radicals will combine to form a single bond, and what you will get is C6H5CH, CH2, CH2, 1, 2, 3, 4, CH2, 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 CH, C6H5, which I can simply write C6H5, CH2, CH2, C6H5. I am saying that there are n units of ethene that have combined, right? So this is how I'll get a polythene. So I know that this kind of unit does not occur in this polythene. So for that I have to use another reagent to remove this benzyl moiety. Understood? So addition polymerization term has been now dropped off, and they usually call it as chain growth polymerization. Hope it helps. Hope it is clear. Right? This is how addition polymerization takes place. So first is polythene only. These are the example of addition polymers. First is polythene. Again there are two types of polythene. One is low density polythene and second is high density polythene. What could be the difference between these polythene? What is the difference between LDP and HDP? Basically, LDP is obtained by the polymerization of ethene under high pressure, right, and temperature of 350 Kelvin to 570 Kelvin and high pressure of 1000 to 2000 atmosphere, right, in the presence of a peroxide only. While in case of high density polythene, obviously the pressure would be high or low? Sure. How would you justify high density and low density? How would you justify high density and low density? Unlike HDP, LDP, low density polymers or low density polythene is comparatively little branched, due to which we know that the branch polymer has high density or low density. They are low density polymers and hence they are comparatively flexible, and hence such kind of polythene may be used to make flexible pipes. While in case of high density polymers, the temperature is more or less the same, the pressure they use is comparatively less. They are closely packed, that is why they have high tensile strength, and hence they are very chemically inert, due to which they are used to make buckets and bottles which are high in density. Have you noticed this sign under the plastic bottles? And they also use for, there is one sign for the kind of plastic they have, PPE, in terms of PPE. Have you noticed this thing? They usually make a sign on the bottle, that what kind of plastic it is, how biodegradable it is. It is a scale of the biodegradability, right? Have you noticed this sign? There is always a sign on such kind of bottles which are more frequently used, because such the kind of mineral water bottles we use, they are biodegradable, they are used only once, and they have to be scrap off, right? And we should not use such kind of bottles again and again. While the case of bottles, the water bottles you are using at your home, they can be used again and again, because the kind of plastic we are using, it is not adverse to your health. But these kind of plastics are used only once, and they should be scrap off once they are used, right? It should be LDP, because it is comparatively, okay, it is inert, but it is flexible in nature. The kind of the litter bags we use, they are biodegradable, and hence they should be LDP only, low density polymers. Understood? LDP and HDP. The next kind of addition polymer is, see, the litter bags we cannot ban because they are comparatively recyclable. Unless you are using the biodegradable polymer, any kind of thing which is biodegradable, it is not harmful to the environment. Okay, why we are using jute bags and plastic paper bags? Because they are biodegradable, they can be break down into simpler molecules, because paper is made of cellulose. Cellulose is a natural polymer, and it can be break down into carbon, hydrogen and oxygen. But in case of polymer, in case of polythene, these kind of polymers have such kind of strong intermolecular attraction that they cannot be degraded or break down into the simpler molecule back again into ethene molecules. And hence most of the soil this time, at least in metropolitan cities, contains 70% plastic, and hence we should right, we should not use plastic, and instead we should use biodegradable kind of polymers. The second example is polytetrafluoroethane, which we call as Teflon. And we know that the non-stick pans, they are basically Teflon only. Non-stick pans that we use at your home, they are Teflon only, right? So how do we make Teflon? It is a polymer of tetrafluoroethene. That means simply draw a ethene molecule and replace the hydrogens by fluorine, CF2, CF2, right? N units of tetrafluoroethene in presence of a persulfate catalyst and high pressure, it will form Teflon. Again, what is the property of Teflon? Why we are not using polythene? It is also a polymer. Then instead we should use polythene on the gas. Why we are not using polythene? Because comparative to polythene, it has high tensile strength as well as it is inert, chemically inert, and it is resistant to corrosive attack. Right? So that is why we are using Teflon on the gas and not the polythene, not even high density polymers. So depending on the kind of usage, again I have to decide what kind of polymer I should be using. Understood? The other is polyacrylonitrate. Nitrile, sorry. polyacrylonitrile. What would be the monomer for polyacrylonitrile? It would be acrylonitrile, which is nothing but cyano derivative of ethene. What does the acryl means? Acryl. What is the meaning of acryl? Is it referring to some kind of bonding? What is the meaning of acryl? What is the meaning of acryl? Again, nitrile is understood that this kind of functional group we call it as nitrile. What is the meaning of acryl? Whenever you have a double bond in conjugation with any kind of functional group which has nitrogen, you call it as acryl, right? Acrylonitrile. This is how acrylonitrile is formed. And what is the usage of this thing? It is used as a substitute for wool. Wool substitute, because it has a fiber kind of properties. Acrylonitrile. You must have heard about acrylonitrile fabrics. No. So the next we have is condensation polymers. This is quite a small unit. So the first example of condensation polymerization is, you also call it as a step growth polymers. While the addition polymers were known as the chain growth polymers, it is called step growth polymers. In this kind of polymerization, small molecules like water, alcohol or acid may get condensed out and form the polymer. And it is not necessary that it should be a homopolymer, or it may be a copolymer. The first example is polyamides. Anything which has amide linkage, when they'll polymerize, they'll call be polyamides. The first example is nylon 6,6, which we have learned just few minutes ago. So by combining hexamethyldiamine and adipic acid, what you will get is nylon 6,6 with the side product being water, right? What was the catalyst? It uses the high temperature and high pressure. The second is nylon 6. How it is formed? What is caprolactam? What are lactams? Cyclic amides are called lactams. So when I am saying nylon 6, that means it has to contain 6 carbon atom, and hence the caprolactam looks like this: CH2 NH CO CH2 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 CH2, right? This is an amide linkage, but it is cyclic in form, and hence by simply heating with water, what you will get is nylon 6,6. Nylon 6 CO CH2 5 NH 1 2 3 4 5 6 6 carbon atoms. Simply heat, taking the caprolactam and water, and you heat it, what you will get is nylon 6. The next class is polyesters. Esters are something which are formed when, what are esters? When acid and alcohol combine to form esters. So when these esters combine, they are called polyesters. So what is the first example for polyester is Dacron or Terylene, right? You know about Dacron or Terylene? How do you make Dacron or Terylene? Ethylene glycol and CH2OH, CH2OH. This is ethylene glycol, and simply add terephthalic acid, what you will get is terylene. Teri from this and lean from ethylene glycol. And what would be the side product? Since it is an example of condensation polymer, what would be the side product? What is the small molecule that has been condensed out? H2O. N number of H2O. N number and N number. This is a 1:1 kind of reaction, that 1 mole of ethylene glycol will combine with 1 molecule of 1 mole of terephthalic acid to form 1 molecule of terylene and 1 molecule of water. This is called Dacron or terylene. The third class of condensation polymer is phenol formaldehyde polymer, right? Which are also called bakelite. So what the name suggests, phenol and formaldehyde. So simply you have to first take a phenol molecule and then a formaldehyde, right? I can simply write it as CH2O also, formaldehyde, for my convenience. They will combine in presence of acid or base, with traces of acid or base to form, not Novelac. First they will form hydroxymethylphenol. This is hydroxymethylphenol. Right? They can form O-hydroxymethylphenol or P-hydroxymethylphenol. then what are the chances, what are the odds that they'll combine to form a chain of molecules? Again, these kind of molecules will further combine with formaldehyde to form more substituted amount of phenol like this, and further they may look like this: OH, CH2OH, CH2OH and CH2OH. Right? Or I can say this kind of compound in presence of acid or a base may combine to form OH, CH2, CH2. Basically what I am saying, that this kind of hydroxymethylphenol may combine with formaldehyde kind of molecules or such kind of molecules only to form a chain like of compound which is called Novelec. This is called Novelec, and this was not Novelec. This was simply hydroxymethylphenol. Right? This is Novelec. When this Novelec, lot of Novelec molecule combine together, what you will get is a phenol formaldehyde polymer, which is also called bakelite, right? And hence I can write this reaction as OH CH2 OH CH2 OH, right? CH2 OH, sorry, CH2 OH and further CH2. This kind of extended network of phenol and formaldehyde is known as bakelite, and this will continue, and hence I can simply write such kind of chains, right? So basically introduction of formaldehyde molecule on the O and ortho and para position makes an extended network of phenol formaldehyde polymer, which is called bakelite. So simply this unit was known as Novelec, and when these units are further combined, they form bakelite, right? Bakelite is basically a infusible solid. That means once it has taken the form during polymerization, it cannot be remolded back into a new shape, because these bonds, these CH2 bonds are very much stronger. The next class of condensation polymer is melamine and formaldehyde polymer. What is melamine? In benzene, this is melamine. This mine means amine, right? plus formaldehyde to form an intermediate. And what is resin? That is your homework, that you should be telling me what is resin. This term you have already studied in inorganic chemistry. We are talking about the chemistry of resin and not the origin of the resin. What is resin? I know resin are obtained from the plant, but what is the basic structural part, that why we are calling it as resin, that I want to know. What is resin? And then this intermediate decomposes to form, or I'll say this will undergo a polymerization to form melamine formaldehyde polymer as NH NHCH2 This is example of condensation polymer in which one hydrogen of this amine group and one OH moiety of this CH2OH condenses to form minus H2O to form melamine formaldehyde polymer. This is a simple example of condensation polymer. Understood? So now we can talk about copolymerization. Can we? What is the monomer for natural rubber? What is the monomer for natural rubber? Isoprene. What is isoprene? Simply draw the butadiene structure, 1,3-butadiene. And what is the other monomer? When I am talking about Buna S, what are Buna N and Buna S? Initially you were talking about Buna N and Buna S. They are rubber, or they are synthetic rubber or natural rubber? They are synthetic rubber. Buna N and Buna S. And what is neoprene? Neoprene. You should be knowing isoprene and chloroprene. Out of these 5, which are polymers and which are monomer? Chloroprene is monomer, right? What about isoprene? Again, I know this is the synthetic rubber, this should be a polymer. What about neoprene? Neoprene is a monomer or a polymer? It is a polymer. It is a polymer. How it is made? See, first you should know what is isoprene. Isoprene is CH2C, CH3, CH, CH2. Basically, methyl 1,3-butadiene. When you draw simply 1,3-butadiene and replace one double bond by a methyl group, what you will get is isoprene. And this polymerization leads to natural rubber. And what are the disadvantages of natural rubber? That it is very, very soft at at high temperature while it is very brittle at very low temperature, and hence to modify these properties according to our needs, we have to make some changes to the monomer units only. So instead what we are using Buna N and Buna S, which are the example of synthetic rubbers, rather natural rubber. What are the monomers for Buna N and Buna S? Buna means butadiene and N means nitrile. No, Novelec is not same as Bakelite. Novelec is a kind of monomer unit for the Bakelite. Just like I told you, Novelec is something like this. OH, CH2, OH, CH2, like this. When you extend this kind of structure left, right, up and down, what you will get is a Bakelite. So once all these phenol molecules combine with the formaldehyde molecule to form a single chain, these are called Novelec. And when these single chain further combine with each other to form a polymer, this is known as Bakelite, right? What is the difference between Buna N and Buna S? This is very much clear that natural rubber is formed by the isoprene molecule, and Buna N and Buna S are formed by using 1,3-butadiene and CH2, CCl, CH2. When they polymerize, what you will get is a neoprene. CH2, CCl, CH2. This is example of a synthetic rubber. The second example is Buna N, which is formed by 1,3-butadiene and acrylonitrile, CH2CH, Cn, to form CH2CH, CH2, CH2CH, Cn. And what is Buna S? This is Buna N. Why it is called Buna N? Because it has butadiene and a nitrogen component. In case of Buna S, why it is called Buna S? The question is why it is called Buna S. Plus C6H5, CH, CH2, and what you will get is a Buna S, because it comprises of butadiene and styrene. It consists of butadiene and acrylonitrile. This comprises of chloroprene to form neoprene, while isoprene is simply a monomer unit having a methyl group instead of in the 1,3-butadiene, and when it polymerizes, it forms natural rubber. So first of all, you should have to memorize all these names and do not get confused between what is methyl isoprene, what is neoprene, what is chloroprene, and what is Buna and Buna S, right? There is one concept called vulcanization of rubber. Okay, when we add little amount of, or you can simply quote it exactly, not always 5% always, but a very small amount of sulfur to natural rubber during its polymerization. What you call that concept is vulcanization of rubber. So I know how the natural rubber looks like this. This is the structure of the natural rubber. This is how the various kind of chains should attach themselves. But whenever I introduce sulfur linkages between two isoprene units, this is isoprene only, na? When I introduce sulfur linkages between two isoprene units or a number of isoprene unit, what I call it as vulcanization of rubber. What happens due to vulcanization of rubber? That these bonds are very much strong, or I'll say they harden the rubber. So when I know that already the natural rubber is very much soft, so according to my usage I have to make it a little bit harder. So according to my need I'll add amount of sulfur. So if I add a small amount of sulfur, I can make it a little brittle or a little harder. So if I want to make it a more harder, I have to add more amount of sulfur, because this will introduce more amount of sulfur linkages which are very, very strong, right? This is known as the vulcanization of rubber, right? Buna S. Buna S is nothing but a polymer of 1,3-butadiene and styrene. Styrene, I can simply draw it like this, or I can write C6H5CH2. When this combine, this is an example of not homo polymer but a copolymer, because two different kind of monomers are involved, and what I'll get is CH2 CH CH CH2 CH2 CH C6H5 like this. So this is nothing but Buna S, because it is made from 1,3-butadiene and styrene. Understood? Obviously anything which I'll try to incorporate will try to break the weakest bond. Why we are saying that sulfur is forming the weak linkages at this point? This is how the isoprene looks like. CH CH2, right? So when I am introducing sulfur linkages, they will try to come at the carbon which is highly occupied, because comparative to other carbon atoms, it is easier for that sulfur atom to come at this carbon and form a linkage, right? Because there is less of crowding at this carbon due to the hydrogens. See, most of the properties of polymers are based on their molecular mass, right? So suppose I am saying that CH2, that means ethene, I am saying that 6 molecules of ethene combine to form a polythene, and at one time I am saying that 10 molecules of ethene are combining to form polythene. In which case the molecular mass of polymer would be greater? Obviously in the second case it would be greater. But does it mean that the first polymer is not polythene? Obviously they both are polythene, but why there is a difference between the molecular masses of the polymer? It is because the time during which it is the time I have taken to build that polymer. Suppose if I keep on adding the ethene molecules to a reaction mixture, Suppose for this kind of reaction mixture, I am giving it 10 minutes to occur for the reaction, while for this I am using 20 minutes. So in what case the amount of polymer would be greater? It will be greater in case of 20 minutes, because in this second reaction I am giving more time to the reaction to build up the more number of monomer units, right? So depending on the reaction condition, I have to see what is the molecular mass of the polymer. It does not mean that the polymer has not been formed, but it does simply mean that what will be the molecular mass of the polymer. So most of the properties of the polymer depends on their molecular masses, which in turn depends on the reaction times, right? So this was about the properties of polymers. Most of the time you can determine properties of polymer using various techniques which are beyond your scope of this course, but there are some properties which can be derived using simple chemical techniques. Understood? Let's come to the biodegradable polymers. Any example of biodegradable polymer? PHBB. What is PHBB? Poly beta. And what are their bases? What are their origins? How they have been derived? Why they are biodegradable? Is it naturally occurring in nature? Then has it been artificially derived or synthesized in the lab, or it occurs naturally? It has been synthesized in the lab. So why it is called biodegradable? What are the biodegradable polymers? Which can be break down into simpler monomer units by the use of simple microorganisms. That means in nature, I know there exists a lot of microorganisms which can degrade various kind of polymers into their constituent compounds. So what are biodegradable polymers? They are the same kind of polymers which can be degraded or break down by the microorganism in environment into simpler molecules which are not harmful to the environment. So how it can be break down, or how it is formed? 3-hydroxy. Okay. And to form this compound, what is it? It is CH3COH, 3-hydroxybutanoic. CH2 CH2 COH, right, and 3-hydroxy pentanoic acid, CH2 CH2 CH2. This is it. They combine to form poly-beta hydroxybutyrate co-beta hydroxy valerate. This is a biodegradable polymer. Otherwise, what are the naturally occurring polymers? They are also biodegradable, just like cellulose, proteins, starch, right? Any other example? Nylon to nylon. 6. Nylon 2, nylon 6, it is formed by, it is a polymer of glycine. Glycine is a basic amino acid, elementary amino acid that is found in the human body. It is an essential amino acid. It is formed by the copolymerization of glycine and aminocaproic acid. Aminocaproic acid. So, what would be the structure of this polymer? It has to form an amide linkage. Obviously, I know NH2 and NH2 they cannot combine, and hence it should look like NHCH2 CO NHCH2 5CO, right? This is an example of polyamide, but the only property which it has is that it is biodegradable. Unlike nylon 6 and nylon 6,6, it is biodegradable. Why it is called nylon 2, nylon 6? Why it is called nylon 2, nylon 6? Number of carbon atoms. It has 2 carbon atoms and it has 6 carbon atoms. Simple. Right? Quite a basic unit, but you should be knowing what are the kind of polymers, on what are the bases on which you classify the polymers, and you should be knowing what are the basic units: isoprene, neoprene, chloroprene, everything. So clear? This chapter is clear. Any doubts? Thank you.